Hi there, my name is Zack Viva and I'm a glider technician for Dalhousie University. I live in Halifax, Nova Scotia, but my shop behind me here is based out of Dartmouth. It's at the Center for Ocean Venture and Entrepreneurship, and it's really hard to beat this view. So here's my shop, which has all the cool gear that I get to work at down at Cove, and this is a Waveglider, which is an ASV, which stands for Autonomous Surface Vehicle. So we'll put this out in the ocean and it'll just go around and collect data autonomously, and it just travels along the surface. Now we can remotely take it over if we need to avoid a ship or something. It harnesses wave energy to propel itself through the ocean, and it has solar panels on top so that it can collect more energy while it's out there, so that it can stay out there longer. And this yellow one is a Waveglider as well that we send out into storms to collect data for Environment Canada. Over here we have a Slocum Glider, which is predominantly what I work with, and this one is being shipped up to the Labrador Sea shortly for a mission to collect some data up there. Over here we have a ROV, which stands for Remotely Operated Vehicle. It's essentially a remote control submarine, and we use this just for conducting underwater surveys, but it does have an arm on it if you need to pick stuff up, and you control it with a controller right here. Now over here is our ballast tank, where we ballast gliders to make sure that they're neutrally buoyant before we deploy them. And this glider here is Scotia, and this is the glider that I've been working on, and we're getting ready to send this into the Cabot Strait to listen for right whales, and then whenever it detects right whales, they'll actually impose speed restrictions or potentially even close down the shipping lanes depending on how many whales we've heard. We're steaming out now to deploy a Slocum Glider into the Gulf of St. Lawrence. This is what it looks like when I'm out in the field. As you can see, the glider's right there. We're going to be sending it out, and it's going to be out there for a couple months. So here we have a deployment of a Slocum Glider off of our Zodiac. Now, the way that these gliders actually travel throughout the ocean is using a buoyancy engine, and the way that they work is it's essentially a pump inside the glider. Now, the glider also has a battery up in the nose, and that battery is moved to pitch the glider, so whenever it's trying to sink, it moves all the way forward so that the nose is angled downward. The pump then pulls water into the glider, which increases its density and decreases its volume, causing it to sink. Then, once it gets to the depth that we have programmed, it will move the battery back towards the tail, which will angle the nose upward, and then it will push the water out, so it will start rising back to the surface. And the wings that we have on the glider help us to translate what is normally a vertical motion into a horizontal motion. This allows the glider to actually travel throughout the ocean in a sawtooth pattern. And this form of travel is actually very energy efficient, so it allows us to send the gliders out for up to 6 months depending on how many batteries we actually have in them. Now, once the glider makes it to the surface, it has an air bladder in the tail which will inflate to make the tail more buoyant and stick out of the water. And the reason that happens is because there's an antenna in the tail which connects to the Iridium network, which is a network of satellites that we use to send data back and forth between us and the glider while it's on deployment.